Kelly, can you get me a Diet Coke and a cheeseburger? Yeah, talking about Grimace got me hungry.
Very, very large brain. He said, Donald Trump, they don't know what to do. Never happened.
Welcome, everybody. Here we go. It's that time again. Matt Connarton Unleashed, and we are live from the studios of WMNH 95.3 FM in glorious, bright, sunny downtown Manchester, New Hampshire. Also on Comcast 97 if you're in Manchester. Streaming at WMNHradio.org and on the Facebook. On the Matt Connarton Unleashed Facebook page. It is Monday, February 8th, 2021. So welcome one and all. Let's see, there is much to get into today. I did see someone, we had an eager beaver who was already calling. I saw the phone lighting up. That might be former President Donald Trump calling to correct something that he had said in that video. Oh, here we go. All right, our first call of the week here on the show, right out of the gate. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
Hi, Matt. This is Ron. I guess maybe I am being an eager beaver. I just turned you on. And I haven't watched any news or read anything or heard anything, so I was just wondering, was there any outcome to this presidential thing, or is it just just another wash? So I guess if I sit and listen long enough, maybe I'll hear the answer. But I mean, I was just wondering if you could, in a nutshell, if you could tune me in. Did they gain anything? Did it put him in any bad position?
Well, the impeachment trial in the Senate, if that's what you're referring to, that's just getting underway. So, but I mean, we already know the outcome. Republicans are going to vote to acquit, and that will be it. So we've already seen the ending of this movie, but it hasn't actually happened yet. That's still in the process of getting underway. So, but it'll be over by the end of the week, I think.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right, Ron, thank you for the call. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, our friend Ron, first one in for the week. But, so we are live. It's, I hope everybody, boy, I'll tell you, yesterday it was very, little slippery out there for a while, but it's nice today. It's nice when the sun comes out and dries the roads and all that. So, we do have much to discuss, and maybe we'll talk about the trial later. I have a few other things, that I want to get to. I have some constructive criticisms for the Biden administration. Constructive, but some things that I'm concerned about as we go forward, and I know people who, I know some people think that, I just wanted to dump on Trump for 2 hours every day for the last 4 years, and that once Biden came in, I was just going to be, a sycophant. But that's not how this works, my friends, and we'll get into some of that today. I mean, overall, I feel good about the Biden administration in the midst of a global pandemic. It is nice to have people in charge who actually believe in science. And I do think, and there was some good news, but there's also concerning news. It's a very mixed picture as far as COVID-19. The good news is new cases are down significantly. The bad news is we have these terrible variants to worry about, and but about a tenth of the population, which is more than I had thought, actually has been vaccinated. So, we are making progress. Jenny says in the chat room, I think it will run into next week, the trial in the Senate. It may. We'll see. It'll be fascinating to see, but we do know the outcome. There's no way that enough Republicans are going to vote with the Democrats to convict Trump. If they were to convict him, then the next step would be to vote on whether or not to bar him from ever running again, which in some ways would be a smart move for the Republicans in the long run, because it would take him off the board for 2024. Right now, the field is frozen. Usually by now, We know Marco Rubio wants to run again. Ted Cruz probably wants to run again. We know Tom Cotton wants to run. I believe it would be his first time running, et cetera. But nobody dares do anything because of Trump. So the Republicans, they have an off-ramp in front of them, but they clearly are not going to take it. So let's see. I want to remind everybody, of course, that we are proudly sponsored by the Hop Knot in the Brady Sullivan Plaza at 1000 Elm Street. It's a wonderful place. They have delicious gourmet pretzels. They have craft beer. They have wine. Don't go there today because Monday and Tuesday is their weekend, and they work very hard. So they deserve a break. But they'll be back open Wednesday, of course, with trivia night and so forth. But it's a great place. They're always adding to and enhancing their menu. And hopefully this week, I'm going to try to make that a goal for this week. I want to try that. I'm never sure if it's a pizza pretzel or a pretzel pizza. But all I do know is that it has the words pizza and pretzel in the same title of the particular food item in question, which means I must try it. I must consume it, and I must get it into my tummy. So we'll try to make that a goal for this week, and then I know Jenny wants to try it as well, and then we'll tell you all how it was, but I'm sure it will be delicious. But the Hop Knot, it's a great place, great food, great service, and a wonderful family that owns and operates it. And by the way, they do everything very safely there. The staff is masked at all times, even out back in the kitchen. The tables are nice and spread out, and they do clean and sanitize consistently and diligently. They take COVID very seriously. And really, it's in every business's, best interest to take it seriously because nobody wants to get shut down. Nobody wants to have an outbreak as we continue to muddle our way through this terrible pandemic. There is light at the end of the tunnel, but, of course, last night, down in Tampa, the streets were full of partiers and revelers, completely unmasked, just not caring, including apparently Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida, who was not wearing a mask attending the game. Of course, he's a total psycho, in my opinion. We're going to have, and of course, all the D-bags with their Super Bowl parties. So we'll have a terrible post-Super Bowl surge, of course, because that's what America has decided. Our country is essentially, in many ways, a giant death cult. Got to spread that COVID for whatever reason. I'll never understand. I think the smarter thing would be to try to, mitigate the virus. But for a large swath of the American population, that option just isn't on the menu. So, I thought we had another call, but there you go. Maybe it was somebody who had a Super Bowl party and then felt badly about it and decided to hang up because no one wants to be shamed. I mean, no offense, but I think if you're having any kind of party that involves alcohol and people slobbering all over each other during a pandemic, I think you're kind of a horrible person and probably a sociopath. That's just my opinion. But, that's just me. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
Hooah!
Hooah! I know that hooah. All the way from Philadelphia, Tony D.
What's up, man?
What's up?
So Corey Feldman is the newest one that came out against Marilyn Manson. Did you see that?
I did not see that. But that's interesting because Feldman has hinted, but not, I don't think, typically given names. Well, it might be a completely different thing, though. Was Feldman? No, probably not. Feldman has talked about people abusing him, but I assume that wasn't the case with Manson. I assume Feldman was just a witness to something.
Nope, he was abused by Manson.
He was abused by Manson. I'll be damned.
Yep, back in 2004, Manson had an obsession with Feldman. And there's pictures to document it. He sends the pictures out. I'll send you the article again. He was in sobriety, and Manson was trying to force him to, do cocaine with him and all this other stuff, and would tickle his ear and kiss his ear, and brought him to a how do you say the word, satanic meeting that was somewhere in L.A.
Okay.
And the picture was of those two at the meeting where they're all like dressed up in like this garment, weird stuff. And he said for years he would get letters in the mail begging for Feldman to come over to his house, and he was being stalked by him. He would send them multiple emails, asking to spend time with him, and he had like a serious weird obsession with Feldman when Feldman was in The Goonies. He said he loved, for some reason, that he loved Feldman in The Goonies, and he like would try to like portray his role in that movie. And he liked him as like a little boy and stuff like that. Like, it's some weird stuff, dude. Like, and Feldman came out on record and said it over the weekend.
Well, I'll tell you what, I am going to play at the break today. I just decided that Go For It song by Corey Feldman. But now this is
horrible.
I actually don't think it's that bad. But this is the first male individual of male persuasion coming out and saying
Correct.
He was directly abused in some way by Manson.
Now, the original girlfriend, wife, is good friends with the lead singer, who's a lesbian. So that's why I'm saying it, because of what I'm about to say. Her girlfriend of OTEP, the metal band OTEP.
Yep.
She would get phone calls at 2:00 in the morning. This came out over the weekend at 2:00 in the morning of the girlfriend talking to Manson's girlfriend about how, he's waving knives to her and stuff like this. And like, there's actual police reports from the OTEP girl's girlfriend who, documented everything. And she went on record and said that any festival that Manson was on, she would not bring her band onto that festival just because of the fact that, like, Ozzy and stuff like that was portraying to the violence. And, like, Sharon knew about it, but Sharon pushed it away as if it was nothing. And then Sharon came out on Sunday and said that all these accusations are false, but she doesn't know his personal life like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's a lot of things on the table here.
Yeah. Wow. It just continues.
Yep. And then supposedly Ivan from the band Five Finger Death Punch.
Oh.
You're not a fan? Can
I just say, a friend of mine made a comment about Five Finger Death Punch that if Mountain Dew made a band, it would be Five Finger Death Punch. And I just thought that was the funniest thing ever, and I'm not even sure why, but it just is. But go ahead, Tony. No, I'm not a fan. Go ahead.
No, me neither. I'm not a fan. Yeah. But he came out and stated on a podcast over the weekend, which hasn't been released yet, was that he was also a witness to Manson in 2019 abusing a woman backstage.
Wow.
So there's a lot on the table here. At this point, I'm just kind of like just waiting for him to be arrested.
Yeah, no kidding. And his career is certainly over. There's no coming back from this. I mean, it's just so much. But it's also, and I'm glad that all this is coming out, because we should know this and he should be held accountable. But it's also, on some level, it's also deeply discouraging to think that so many people witnessed so many things and didn't say anything until now. You know what I mean?
It's weird, right? It's weird.
It is weird.
I totally agree with you. It's very weird that, like, almost a decade later, things are being thrown out there now.
It is.
I'm not sure if he got, like, a huge payday or something and they knew about it. You know what I mean? And,
well, I suspect I know the answer. And it's not, and I don't want anyone to misunderstand. I'm not justifying or rationalizing it. I'm just saying I think I know the answer. I think the reason people don't come out and speak out is in a situation like this is nobody wants to be blackballed from the industry. So if you're in the music industry and you come out and you say something about somebody like Marilyn Manson, who, I mean, his star has gradually faded over the years, but he's still an icon to many. There's that risk that if you come out and you say something, that other people are going to be upset with you and they're going to extricate you and blackball you from the industry. But in the case of Manson, where who was it who spoke up first? It was Evan Rachel Wood, right? Who said something publicly?
Evan Rachel Wood, yep.
Now she's an actress. She's not in the music industry, so she's on the outside of things. So I think by people on the outside of the industry speaking out first, that led to people within the industry speaking up, and of course people, Corey Feldman, who tried to be in the music industry, but it didn't really work out. But I suspect people within the music industry who haven't spoken out until now, they probably just were afraid of the repercussions of what might happen to their careers, and you see that. You see that in Hollywood. That's why for decades, nobody dared speak out against Harvey Weinstein, who we now know was a serial abuser, just one instance after another of sexual harassment and probably rape.
That's what it kind of leads. Like that same kind of lead is happening with Manson now.
Yeah,
it seems like it's like a repeat cycle, except it's going into the music industry.
Yeah, yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens again this week, because the case is getting hot.
Yeah.
They're building something here.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be an unleash of fury on him, and it's I'm just what I'm more interested to see, Matt, and it's going to really make me think about the person or persons of the bands. How many bands know about this and left this hidden that didn't, they actually witnessed these actions? Like Wes came out and said, he's seen it. How many other bands and band members and staff saw this and just didn't speak up? And it really makes me worry about those type of people. Like, why didn't you say something if you saw this? It's because it was, he's this huge music icon, and he didn't want to be that person to, be the one to put his dirty laundry out there.
In the end,
for a girl to literally go through this, be abused, have probably mental problems now, and all these other issues that come along with it, and it took almost a decade for this to happen. So this has been going on for who knows how long, maybe since '96, who knows? But there's probably a lot of people that dealt with this, and it's sad to see that people don't want to speak up about it. It frustrates me.
I don't know. I don't know how I could deal with it on my conscience if I knew something or witnessed something and then just carried that around and never said anything. Now, granted, I don't want to be too sanctimonious about it, because it's easy for me to sit here and say what I just said because I'm not in that position. But even if I were in that position, I think I would have a very hard time just not saying anything to anybody. Unless, but another interesting thing to kind of wonder about is, was it known? What were people trading stories within the industry, but just everybody was very careful about not speaking to the press about it? But was it known generally throughout the industry? And is that why? Because Manson was, the end of the 90s, Manson was white hot. Like he was one of the biggest stars in music.
When that song, what was it, Beautiful People, came out. That really launched him.
Oh yeah, my dad even likes that song. But his talk about the law of diminishing returns. He seemed to, just a couple years later when Mechanical Animals came out, I was surprised at how poorly it sold and how quickly he seemed to just kind of fall off the charts. And he continued to put things out, but he really, I wonder if people were kind of working against him within the industry, where they weren't going to say anything publicly. They weren't going to talk to the media because they were afraid of the repercussions, but maybe they were kind of sabotaging him a little bit because, which would be well-deserved. The better thing would be talk to the media, tell people what you know and call him out on what he's done. But I just wonder if there was some sort of effort, either overt or implicit, within the music industry to kind of bring him down. gradually over time, because that can be done, and it has been done. If you get, I have a background in the music industry, and I know if you start getting a bad reputation with people, they'll start giving you the cold shoulder, and you start to run out of people to work with and people to promote you, and people don't want to work with you anymore. So I wonder, but maybe not. That might be also a complete coincidence. Just the public got tired of him and didn't like the shtick anymore. And, he went from playing arenas to playing clubs, because that's just sometimes what happens. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading way too much into it, but I find it interesting to wonder about.
Well, bands such as Fear Factory, Soulfly, Anthrax, bands like that have played with him. I know way, maybe 10 years ago, Fear Factory said that they would never play with him again, but they never gave a reason.
They never said why.
Never gave a reason. They never gave a reason why they wouldn't play with him again. But
Interesting.
I remember seeing that article in a metal magazine, and they pretty much said that they would never open up for Manson ever again, but they never gave a reason. They just said that there was, a dispute on something that they couldn't come to terms with.
Interesting.
I'm just wondering, that band's getting ready to get back together, and that's the hot talk right now. And I'm wondering if they're going to speak up. I'm just so much into it in the metal industry. I'm locked in on the metal world. It's my thing. It's always been my thing, and that's where my knowledge with music is in the metal industry. And this stuff like this is like Trump news for me. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal for me.
Oh yeah.
And, I like following it. I like talking about it, and I'm just curious to see how many bands that opened up, because I've seen Manson multiple times. I've actually seen him more on accident than I wanted to on purpose, believe it or not. And
what do you mean, like seeing him at Ozfest and things like that, where he was on the bill with?
Seeing him at festivals, or Fear Factory was coming to town, or Soulfly or Anthrax, one of those bands, and they were opening up.
Yeah.
So, I went in and I would go see him, and then, I would stay for maybe 2 songs for him, and I'm like, all right, I'm out of here. It was he wasn't like the guy, the band that I liked. If Rob Zombie was coming in, he would open up for Zombie, and I would have to sit through the set, obviously, if, Zombie was headline, and it was like nails on the chalkboard to me, because I didn't like his act on stage. It was just too gory, and it kind of reminded me he was trying so hard to be like a Guar, and they had the pig's blood, and you know what I mean? It was just no. And then he's burning Bibles on stage, and I know it's an act and stuff, but he just never did it for me. Just never did it for me.
I saw him a couple times. I think both were on Ozfest, because I think he did Ozfest more than once. And I enjoyed his set, and I was a fan. I mean, a very casual fan. I had friends who were really into Manson, but I mean, look, I mean, a lot of what he did, Alice Cooper already did it, and Alice did it better, and Alice still does it better. I mean, Alice is coming from a very different perspective. With Alice, it's all show. It's all about the character. Alice Cooper, and you probably know this because you follow metal, but Alice is very much a devout Christian, in fact. Whereas although
another really good interview to have.
Oh, Alice is. I love Alice Cooper. I'm a huge fan. He's probably in my top 5 all time. But he's. It's funny. There's an interview I saw, because he's toured with Manson. Although I bet Manson was on his best behavior around Alice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see what happens. More so at the end of this week. So. Just wanted to give you that update, man. Let you get back to your thing, and we'll chit-chat sometime this week.
Oh, Tony, you should give the Tony D Show a plug. Great job this weekend. I wasn't able to stick around long live online, but I went back and watched some later. But give that a plug.
Yeah, Rocky Huber was in there this weekend, and he was interjecting with some of the content that we had going on there. He had us rolling. He had us rolling.
Good.
From the chat room. So Texas Mike called in, and it was a good time. We're live every Saturday, 5 to 7, IPM Nation, Raw Talk Online, and at TonyDShow.com. So you can find us. You find everything there. You can find the previous show that just aired this past Saturday right there.
Very nice. Very nice. All right, Tony D, thank you so much for the call, my friend.
All right, be good, Matt.
All right, you too. Take care. Bye-bye. All right, Tony D from Philadelphia and the Tony D Show. Always like talking with Tony. That opens up a line for you on this Monday afternoon, 603-250-6007, 603-250-6007. You can also, if you would like to, text me at 617-917-4476. Tweet me at Matt Connarton, and please follow me on Twitter. I'm trying to beef up my Twitter. I'm trying to improve my Twitter game. And, of course, you can email me, matt@mattconnarton.com. And you can interact and opine in the Facebook live chat. But the best thing to do so that we can hear and enjoy your dulcet tones is give us a call at 603-250-6007. I saw a lot of great comments in the Facebook live chat, by the way, while we were talking. So let's say hello to everybody in there. Jenny, first one in the Facebook live chat today. Rocky Huber is in the chat. Hello, Rocky. Bobby Champagne joins us. Mike Pelopita joins us. Mike, of course, from another one of our great sponsors here at WMNH, Queen City Cabinetry. You can bring your kitchen to life with Queen City Cabinetry in the historic Sunbeam Mall. That reminds me, I did see Peter White pop up. Also, Peter White of The Morning Show with Peter White, which you can hear every weekday from 7 to 9 a.m. with a replay from 2 to 4 p.m. right before this program. DJ Midas is in the Facebook live chat. John Midas Manning. Midas, of course, part of the WMNH family, host of Late Night Delight, which you can hear every Saturday night from 12 midnight all the way to 4 a.m. with a replay on Sunday night. Midas does a fantastic job. Brian Mackey, all the way from Idaho, is in the Facebook live chat. I received a package today, which I'll bring home later. I checked the mail because we have a post office box for the business it's actually in the same building as the Hop Knot, but we have a package, which I know is for Jenny, which I will give to her when I get home, which Brian had ordered for us, or for Jenny. Miriam Banish is a top fan in the Facebook live chat. Jenny was saying, we were talking at the top of the show when Ron called. Jenny says, will Republicans push for a long, drawn-out deal on stimulus? I feel as if they don't give a care about us and they will run the clock rather than get the stimulus done fast. I'm optimistic about it, but I have some thoughts on this. You know, the big sticking point for Republicans right now is this means testing thing, where, figuring out what the threshold is. But there's a problem with that, and there's also a very easy solution to that. But we'll come back to that. Tom Blanchard joins us. Tom says, I'm not understanding why Trump was already impeached once. Isn't that enough to keep him from running again? Actually, no, Tom, and that's something that I had misunderstood at one point. Impeaching him is not enough to keep him from running again. If they want to prevent him from running again, what they need to do is they have to actually, if I understand this correctly, and it's easy to get confused with this because we're in uncharted waters. This has never happened before in the history of the country, where we are now with this. But what has to happen, if I understand correctly, because I know I was confused about this in the beginning, he needs to be, the Senate has to vote to convict him, and that, which is not going to happen. And then if they were to convict him, then they would have a separate vote where they could vote to bar him from running again, not only for the presidency, but from ever holding public office again. But none of that's going to happen. The Republicans are not. Look, I've said it on the show a lot over the past few weeks, and I do believe Mitch McConnell will vote to convict Liz Cheney. But, and Mitt Romney, certainly. There will be some, but not enough. But, this could be their off ramp to put Trump in the rearview mirror, but they're clearly not going to take this opportunity. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
Hey, Matt, Skumpi.
Jeff Skumpi Lorenz, how are you? It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. I know. I tried to text on the thing. I was on the Facebook thing, but I don't know if you saw it or not. But, yeah, a lot of good things going on, man.
Yeah, what's happening?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. You are right. Alice Cooper, Marilyn Manson was a ripoff of Alice Cooper. Tried to be, I don't know. But Alice Cooper had beautiful music.
Oh yeah, I love Alice. Well, and I liked Manson too at first. Actually, I mean, I like that music.
I like some of his stuff. I like some of his stuff very well. Actually, even the covers.
Yeah.
Everyone,
Yeah, he had a huge hit with his cover of "Sweet Dreams." Yeah.
Yeah, sweet dreams are made of these.
Yeah.
I like the way he did it. But,
yeah, me too.
But it was, he used the girl's name, first name, and then used like a bad name, think about Charles Manson,
Right.
It's that good bad thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, a total ripoff as far as even the name, I think.
Well,
Alice Cooper is still doing it.
Yeah. Absolutely. I wouldn't characterize it as a ripoff because to me it's just, everybody's influenced by somebody. Manson obviously was influenced by Alice Cooper, but I also think it's a different thing. It's a different vibe going in a somewhat different direction. I wouldn't characterize it as a ripoff. Granted, I don't necessarily want to be sitting here defending Marilyn Manson in any way, given what we've learned, but I never thought of it as a ripoff. I just thought of it as kind of, like I said, everyone's influenced by
you're right.
By somebody.
He was influenced, and I guess you're right.
Yeah,
I believe that too. But Alice Cooper songs, man, I've seen Alice Cooper probably 8 times.
Yeah,
throughout the years.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
I've seen him a bunch of times. I haven't seen him quite 8, but I've seen him quite a few times.
He's an illusionist, He works on that magic stuff, like the guillotine, and the hanging, and
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, love Alice.
He's a real good golfer, Real good golfer. They told him, they said back in the 70s, don't let anyone tell you play golf. It'll ruin your whole image.
Yeah, it ultimately ended up kind of. I don't think it was until the 90s that he really came out as a golfer. And then it kind of softened his image, but it kind of softened his image in a way that I think made him more palatable to the mainstream, which was probably actually a good... At a certain point, that becomes the move, right? I mean,
It really did. It got the younger people into it, and they realized how great those old songs were,
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, so what?
But hey, I got some good stuff going on.
Yeah, tell us what you're up to.
I got Narrow Street Films, The Woodsman. Got the whole script. I'm going to be shooting a movie written for me. I'm the main star. It's going to be awesome.
Fantastic! Wow, good for you. The Woodsman. I assume you play the Woodsman in the film.
I'm playing the Woodsman. This is it's back at actually Revolutionary War time.
Oh.
But I'm a woodsman. I'm sitting in a bar, like the first scene, and all these redcoats come in, and they try to take care of the bartender. I'm like a Clint Eastwood. I'm going to be the tough guy.
Do you chop them up?
I'm going to wipe them all out.
Oh.
I wipe them all out.
Okay.
And that's just like one scene. I'm just telling you, I'm going to be a real badass.
Wow.
I'm growing this big beard.
Yeah. I can picture you with a big beard. I can picture it.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've been trimming it lately until they say spring. So,
do you drink craft beer? You have to. You're supposed to drink a lot of craft beer when you have a big beard, I believe.
Is that what you're supposed to do? Craft beer?
I think so. Yeah.
And what craft beer would you recommend?
I would recommend the craft beer at the Hop Knot in the Brady Sullivan Plaza at 1000 Elm Street.
I deliver to the Thousand Crane, the Chinese restaurant.
Yeah, right next door. Yeah.
Right next door. Every once in a while, I go there.
Yeah. So now in The Woodsman, like, do you have catchphrases like I'm going to chop you down and things like that when you're talking to the Redcoats?
Well, I don't give it up, but no, it's pretty cool. I'm just a tough. I don't say a lot.
Yeah.
But what I say, I'm one of those like real tough guys.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Now, is it a full length feature? Is it a short film? What is it?
Well, they got a full length feature going, but we're going to start with a little a short film.
Yeah.
Get people introduced to it, and then we're going to go from there.
Oh, very cool. That's awesome, Skumpi. Good for you, man. That's
she really wanted to do the full length movie. She has a whole script. I mean, like an hour and 40-minute movie, but
yeah.
But because of the COVID and all the stuff that's going on, she said, "You know what? We got to shoot a short. We got to do something. We got to do something." She's Jones and I'm Jones, and I want to act. I want to,
Yeah.
So we're gonna put a little like pilot out there, a little bit of it, and then we can make the whole movie. Maybe when all this COVID is done, and
yeah. Absolutely. By the way, so our friend Peter White of the Morning Show with Peter White, I think you've heard of him in the chat room. He seems to think
I have heard of him. What the hell did I hear? Oh yeah, I remember Peter.
He seems to think that you might have already had some craft beer today.
No, I went by twice this year, this last couple of weeks, delivering Manchester stuff.
Yeah.
I see him out there, hanging out on the sidewalk.
Peter White?
And I hit my air horn. Yeah, Peter White in the morning.
Yeah.
I have 3 stops though. I start at 5 o'clock.
Wow.
If he hears the air horn at 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock, he knows it's me going by.
Oh, okay. Well, very good. And if he doesn't know, he knows now.
He does.
Yeah. Well, very good. So now, any kind of an ETA on the Woodsman? When you haven't shot any of it yet, right? You haven't started shooting yet?
No, they're thinking spring. They're thinking some probably late March or early April.
Okay.
We'll start shooting.
Okay. No, very good. And what about now? Do you have anything new on Amazon Prime? Because I remember Jenny and I watched that short film where you play the villain. What is that? The Last One? What is that called?
No, I think the last two. You have to go to
the last two. Yeah,
it's gonna be actually YouTube. The movie Chance.
Oh, Chance.
The movie The Dinner Party.
Chance is the one I remember you were talking about before. Is that available finally?
Yeah, that's the first one I was in. I just do stunt scenes. I do bar fight scenes.
Yeah. But you're in it. Like we can see you in it if we watch it.
Oh yeah.
Okay, cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I remember we wanted to
go on Narrow Street Films.
Okay.
And you'll see the trailer, and you'll actually see me in there.
Oh, cool. Okay, yeah, because we had wanted to check that out.
If you go to Narrow Street Films, you can find out where to find all these movies.
Okay, yeah, narrowstreetfilms.com, right? If I remember correctly. Well, it's Googleable anyway. Yeah, Terry Trainer. Yeah, very good, very good. All right, Skumpi. Well, listen, we won't keep you too long because it's kind of it's not a great phone connection. You're coming through a little crunchy for lack of a better word, but it's nice. Nice to hear from you.
I'm using my truck headset.
Oh, are you? Yeah. Well, yeah. It's not.
Well, I'm always on the road, so I put the truck headset up, and it works. So I don't know.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But no, it sounds like you're doing well, and congratulations on the new film, The Woodsman. We look forward to seeing that.
Got a new band coming together too soon. So
oh, good.
Look out! I don't know what the name's going to be yet, but
yeah,
I got a new project.
It's very cool. All right, great. Well, Skumpi, thank you so much for the call, my friend. It was nice to hear from you. It's been a while.
Hey, why don't you put on an old Alice Cooper song?
I just might do that. That's a very good idea. Actually, I might just do that.
Steven.
I've got one in mind.
All my toys are broken. Oh, yeah, that's great.
All right, Skumpi. All right, thank you for the call, my friend.
All right, peace. Love you, man.
All right, you too, man. Take care.
Don't bother on everybody. I love you all guys down there. All right?
All right, you got it. Bye-bye. I actually don't know what he said at the end there because the phone connection was, it seemed to be getting worse as we were talking. But Jeff Skumpi Lorenz, my friends, that was, we haven't heard from Skumpi in a long time. But I hope he's got some one-liners in the Woodsman, like, like I hope he says to the Redcoats in the bar, like something like, I'm going to chop you down like a tree or something. That would be great. A little Schwarzenegger thing where he has to say something like that before he kills somebody. I think that would be awesome. No, but I look forward to, and I can totally picture Skumpi with a big beard. I don't know why, but I can. No, that's great though. I'm glad that, we kid around, we like to break balls around here, but no, I love Skumpi. I think that's wonderful. And we did watch the last two. Jenny and I. This was like 2 years ago now, I think. But we watched it on Amazon Prime. Skumpi is in it, and he plays the bad guy, and it's actually really cool. He's a good actor. Let's see. That does open up a line for you. 603-250-6007. 603-250-6007. You can also text me at 617-917-4476. Tweet me at Matt Connarton or send an email to matt@mattconnerton.com. And we will, let's look at some more of these Facebook Live chat comments because there's a lot going on in there. Abigail Jem joins us. Hello, Abigail. She says, all grades at the high school where I teach were back in attendance today, in hybrid, of course. Great seeing familiar faces. Also, they were excellent about social distancing and wearing their masks. That is good to hear. A really good day, despite being a Monday. I'm so lucky to have awesome students. That's really good. It's I've been pleasantly surprised, as I think a lot of us have, that in schools, I mean, it has been a problem some places, of course, but generally speaking, schools have turned out to be safer places during this pandemic than we would have thought. Tom Blanchard says, funny how just because you sing and record one stupid song, you can make $1 million. Well, not necessarily. In this era that we live in with streaming, you don't make as much money as you used to with a hit song. The industry's changed a lot. Gene Simmons has been complaining about that a lot recently. Well, I shouldn't even say recently. He complains about it now and then. Rocky Huber says, which one's worse, these Marilyn Manson updates or Easy G's wrestling reports? LOL. There's Skumpi in the Facebook live chat, Jeff Lorenz, talking about the Woodsman. Rocky says, for the record, I like them both. This is why I need everyone's opinion, LOL. Tom Blanchard says, why do I have to work so hard to pay my bills? He works hard for the money. Scott Perry, host of Courtesy Call, is in the Facebook live chat as Courtesy Call, promoting episode 4 of his podcast. Apparently, there's a rant in the newest episode, which I haven't gotten a chance to hear that part yet, but about anti-maskers. I will definitely check that out, Scott. I haven't had a chance to listen to the whole thing yet. Scott does a great job, but I might play it on the show. Your rant. Christian Lacoste is in the Facebook live chat. Christian says, Twitter isn't where it's at anymore, Matt. Well, that is what the young people tell me. People have been saying that for like 5 years, though. Oh, Twitter's so over. Twitter's so over. And yet people do still use it. I was attacked. I was viciously attacked several weeks ago on Twitter by Gracie Gatto, who had been on the show a couple of times. And it's a weird thing. I mean, social media can be vicious, but it's so weird when someone you think is an ally and you think likes you, and agrees with you ideologically, just randomly attacks you. She attacked me. She attacked John Hopwood. It was all very bizarre. I was thinking about submitting that to urbandictionary.com. A Gracie Gatto is when someone attacks you on Twitter for no apparent reason and you're left perplexed as to why they're upset with you and there's no clear answer. Let's see. Eric Street is in the Facebook live chat. Eric says, I'll follow you on Twitter. Ha! Take that, Christian Lacoste. I just got a new follower on Twitter. And you say Twitter isn't where it's at. Oh, boy. Let's see. And Eric is a top fan, by the way. Thank you, Eric. I will follow you back, sir. Christian says Trump ruined Twitter. Rocky Uber says, I think Matt should get an OnlyFans account. Well, it's funny you mentioned that, Rocky. I was thinking about doing that, but it would be, it wouldn't really be tied to this show. It would be tied to my other show, Matt Connarton Unsheathed, if I do OnlyFans. And that's, of course, that show is not carried on WMNH, and it's only available on the dark web. And, of course, I'm legally prohibited from telling you how to find it. But it is behind a paywall, and you should look for it around 3 a.m. Yes, I like that idea. Abigail Jem says there's a new platform called MySpace. Oh boy. MySpace does still exist. And by the way, did you know that it's almost impossible to delete your profile on MySpace? I've known people who've tried to go back and delete their profiles on MySpace because they have information on there that is embarrassing to them or whatnot, or it's just outdated, and they want to get rid of it. But it's like really hard. It's not like Facebook. Facebook, you can hide your account, you can delete your account, you can do all kinds of things. MySpace, it's like it's like once it's there forever. You can go on MySpace and see pictures of me in leather pants, which is why we're also going to tie MySpace to my other show. Abigail says, did you listen to make sure the package wasn't ticking? We're not going to... I'm not going to read the rest of that comment, but that's funny. Oh, boy. Let's see. There's some football talk going on in the chat room. Rocky Uber says, who else thinks Matt should have kept his ponytail and auctioned it off on eBay for charity? I heard Christian Lacoste would have bought it. Oh, that would have been very nice. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in the chat. We're just going to leave alone. Oh boy. Yeah, there's a lot going on in there. I just want to make sure we don't miss anybody in the chat room. And then we are going to take a quick break, and then we'll come back with shenanigans in the second hour. I do have some things that I definitely want to get to today. Rob Dion is in the chat room. Rob says, can we just move on and not let that person occupy space in our minds anymore? And some of you know who Rob is referring to. Benji Day is in the Facebook live chat. Benji says, Gene Simmons is Steven Seagal. Changed my mind. Oh, my goodness. Well, they do have similar body types these days, I suppose. All right, let's take a break. We are at the top of the hour. Oh, Eric Street is asking, did the fan who ran across the field get arrested? I guess somebody ran across the field. Was it during the halftime show? I don't know. I didn't look at that too closely, but I'm going to play... let's see. Now, let's play that Corey Feldman song. By the way, coincidentally, Tony D, when he called in, he was talking about Corey Feldman coming out with allegations against Marilyn Manson. Just totally coincidence. This weekend, I was listening to Howard Stern on satellite radio Howard 100 is where they play the new shows, and then Howard 101, they play classic clips. And they played an old clip from like 20 years ago of Corey Feldman and his father, like having an on-air confrontation. It was very interesting because apparently they had some issues when Corey was growing up. As Jenny mentioned in the Facebook live chat, his Corey Feldman's upbringing was challenging, it sounds like. But what the hell? I don't think this song is as bad as everyone thinks. This Go For It song that Corey Feldman came out with. What was this, like 5 years ago? 4 years ago, 2016. No, wait, that's 5 years ago now. Time goes so fast, my friends. We'll play this and probably one other quick thing, and then we will be back. I must refill my water. You're tuned in to Matt Connarton Unleashed, and we are live from the studios of WMNH 95.3 FM. Don't go away. Plenty more to come. Welcome back, everybody. We are well in hour number 2, numero dos of Matt Connarton Unleashed, and we are live from the studios of WMNH 95.3 FM in downtown Manchester, New Hampshire, also on Comcast 97 in Manchester, streaming at WMNHradio.org, and on the Facebook, on the Matt Connarton Unleashed Facebook page. It is Monday, February 8, 2021, and I want to remind you, of course, we are proudly sponsored by the Hop Knot in the Brady Sullivan Plaza at 1000 Elm Street. Don't go there today. Monday and Tuesday is their weekend, but they will be back open Wednesday through Sunday, and it's a great place. Delicious gourmet pretzels. They have craft beer, as I was suggesting to Skumpi to go with that big beard of his. It's a great place. The food's great. The service is great. It's a great family that owns and operates it. They do a cool thing, too, where you can buy a face mask. They have these really cool Hop Knot face masks. They're $10, and then if you order food there when you go to pick it up, because you don't have to eat there, you can get it to go. Or you can eat it there. You know, the tables are nice and spread out and whatnot. But if you wear your face mask, you have to wear a face mask to enter the premises. They're very strict about it there. They take COVID very seriously, which is one of the things we love about them. But if you wear your Hop Knot face mask, you get 10% off your order. So it's almost like a frequent shopper card that you wear on your face. It's one way to think of it, but very cool. And the masks are really cool too. They look good. If you'd like to call us, you can, 603-250-6007, 603-250-6007. You can text us at 617-917-4476. Tweet me at Matt Connarton, or you can send an email to matt@mattconnerton.com. And, of course, you can always opine and interact in the Facebook live chat, but we'd love it if you call us at 603-250-6007. Tom Blanchard says, Super Bowl, that's the only game I watched all year. I was afraid of seeing players kneeling. I think you'd survive, Tom. I think you'd be okay. Jenny liked that song I was playing, the Unforgettable. Or Unforgivable, the parody of Unforgettable. That is Miss Lori Lenner. If you're looking for her online, you can find her. The easiest way to find her is on YouTube. If you look up Lori, and she spells it the way my mom spells it, Laurie, and then Lenner or Leaner. I'm not sure how she pronounces it, but it's Lehner. You can find her on YouTube, and she does a lot of great song parodies that I like to feature on the show. And she does some songs that aren't parodies also. She does some of her own music. By the way, hello to Archie Frangudis, who joins us in the Facebook live chat. I always like saying Archie's last name because it sounds like cheese. Like, I'm going to put some Frangudis on my sandwich. I'm all out of cheddar, but I've got some Frangudis. So there you go. Hey, I wanted to talk about something that's, there's all this debate about, I mean, I know the plan is ideally what will happen is we're going to get another $1,400 stimulus payment, because that we got 600 and then the 14 gets us to 2,000, which, Trump did say on his way out, in his last days in office, this $600 is an insult. And he was right about that, by the way, but should have said something a little sooner, dude. Hello to Angela Philbrook in the Facebook live chat. So now they're trying to, hopefully they're going to do 1,400. But the big sticking point over this is not, and Jenny had referred to it earlier in the Facebook live chat in the first hour, the big sticking point doesn't seem to be the amount. 1,400 seems to be what it's going to be, and I think Democrats and Republicans basically agree on it. But where the sticking point seems to be is means testing, and previous payments have not been means tested. Now, if you don't know what means testing is, it's basically determining one's eligibility for a payment. Typically, when you hear that term means testing, we usually use it in the context of discussing other benefits like Social Security, for example. There's this debate that comes up every so often about should we start means testing Social Security? So, maybe if you make over a certain amount of money and you don't need that Social Security payment when you retire, maybe you just wouldn't get it. And there's arguments and counter arguments for that, both of which I'm sympathetic to. I mean, the argument in favor of means testing Social Security is you're wasting money paying out this money to people who don't actually need it. And then the argument, I mean, I'm simplifying, and the argument in favor, the argument against means testing typically is, well, wait a minute, regardless of whether these individuals over a certain income level need the money or not is irrelevant. They paid into the system over the course of their lifetimes because you pay in. That's part of where your federal income tax goes to is Social Security, and then you get it back in payments from the government when you retire and you go on Social Security. So there's arguments on both ends of that, but where we're talking about it. By the way, Rocky Huber says, Trump said the $600 was no good, but did not participate in the negotiations. Even Trump supporters saw that one as funny. Yeah, exactly. What they came up with, that 600 was, Mick Mulvaney negotiating on behalf of Trump. So the administration was on behalf of Trump negotiating, but Trump himself didn't say a word until after everything was done, and then he throws the wrench into the works there at the end. Now here's the thing. Well, first let's look at this, and then I have some thoughts on means testing and my own thoughts on this in this context of this $1,400 payment. My thoughts on this have shifted a little bit. And there's actually a very easy solution to the concerns that people have. But this is from Vox. So just a quick debate over who deserves a stimulus check explained. One new proposal to limit the $1,400 stimulus checks could cut roughly 40 million Americans from eligibility. So here's a quick explainer, and then I'm going to tell you what I think. As Congress continues to negotiate the $1.9 trillion stimulus package, a group of bipartisan lawmakers has proposed more limited payments by lowering the income threshold for who gets the $1,400 benefit. Their proposal would begin phasing out the benefit for individuals earning over $50,000 a year. I'm going to stop right there. Here's the problem. We will come back to this because this little article here is a great explainer. But here's the problem. In other words, the idea is that if you make over a certain amount of money, you're not going to get a stimulus check because you're not one of the people who needs it. Now, that as a concept all on its own in a vacuum sounds perfectly reasonable, right? If you don't need it, you're not going to get it. Now, we weren't talking about this, though, with the previous payments. And I kind of misunderstood something about this, and I'm realizing it now just from the reading and the research that I've done. I thought we weren't talking about this during the previous payments, the $600 and the $1,200 that we got before that, simply because the idea was, and this was part of it, right? But the idea is we got to stimulate the economy. We got to help people. Millions of people are now unemployed because of this pandemic. We got to get this money out the door. I remember hearing and seeing that phrase specifically. Get the money out the door as quickly as you can. Just do it. If the IRS has your direct deposit information, we're just going to get it into your bank account. Otherwise, we're going to mail you a check. Just do it. Don't worry about the details. This is crucial. We got to do it now. I thought that was the main reason. But there's another issue here. See, the problem with means testing in this context is you're going by people's 2019 tax returns. So again, it makes sense in a way, right? If somebody makes over a certain amount of income, what do they need a payment for? But here's the problem. If you're going by people's 2019 tax returns, which is obviously the metric that we're using to determine whether someone be eligible for a payment, well, however much money you made in 2019, whatever your income was, I mean, yeah, you might have made over 50 grand. You might have made a lot more than 50 grand. You might have had a really good 2019. You might have had a phenomenal 2019. But here's the problem. We're in February of 2021, and something happened between 2019 and February of 2021. And that thing is the year 2020, when a whole lot of people who were doing great, who were chugging along, who were making a good income, all of a sudden either found themselves without a job, or maybe they were independent contractors who suddenly, their income disappeared, or business owners even who lost their businesses in this. So you can't do this. You can't use 2019 tax returns to determine someone's eligibility for a payment in 2021. You can't. Not with a threshold of $50,000 at least. Now, granted, I've heard President Biden say, well, look, I don't think somebody making $300,000 a year necessarily needs a stimulus check. Yeah, okay. And if you were making 300 grand a year in 2019, regardless of what happened to you in 2020, you've probably figured out a way. If you were making that much money in 2019, you've probably figured out a way to weather the storm, okay? Fine. But this idea that you're going to tell people who made $50,000 in 2019 that they don't get a stimulus check in February of 2021 based on their 2019 income, you're going to leave millions of people out in the cold. That's nuts. People who made 50 grand a year who suddenly lost their job and maybe they didn't qualify for unemployment benefits, or, in some states, unemployment benefits, actually New Hampshire, very often people find themselves in that state where unemployment benefits are much, much lower than what you were actually making, right? You can't do this. You can't do this. I mean, I'm not opposed to having some kind of threshold, but it can't be 50 grand. That's nuts. That number's got to be much higher. And again, look, there's a very easy solution, by the way. See, this is the part that's so maddening. This doesn't even need to be a discussion to begin with about thresholds for who gets a payment. And I'll tell you why. There's such an easy solution. If you're someone who is genuinely concerned about people who don't actually need the money getting the money, we can fix that without risking screwing anybody over who does need the money, but according to their 2019 tax return, it looks like they don't. Here's what you do. Make the payments. Don't worry about it, but you write it into the tax code that they're going to get taxed on that money. You make the stimulus payment taxable so that if they're over a certain income threshold on their 2020 tax return, that money gets taxed back. You see what I'm saying? So let's say You had a great 2019. Looks good on paper, right? And then actually, you had a good 2020 as well. You weren't really affected economically by the pandemic. That's going to be reflected on your 2020 tax return, right? So you make it so that stimulus payment is taxable. So you didn't need it? Fine. You're going to end up paying it back. No harm done. It scores the same, according to the Congressional Budget Office. It doesn't matter which way you do it. So why not do it in a way that doesn't screw people over? Neither one is going to affect the budget. That's what the CBO does when they score these things. They figure out what's going to be the impact on the budget, what's going to be the impact on the debt and the deficit, etc. Right? This scores the same. It doesn't matter which way you do it. So do it the right way. And so few people are talking about this. I mean, there's a few people who are. That's how I came to realize that this was an option. I didn't know until I actually was kind of okay with means testing. I was like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. And then I did some reading and researched and realized, no, not only does it not work, but I mean, it doesn't work without, like I said, leaving some people out in the cold, but there's such an easy, obvious fix. You can completely fix the problem. You don't have to worry about people getting a payment who don't need it. And by the way, some people getting a payment who don't necessarily need it isn't in and of itself necessarily a problem because, as long as they spend the money, it's still stimulating the economy. Remember, stimulus payments aren't just to bail people out who are hurting. I mean, that's a big reason to do it. But it's also to stimulate the economy. That's why we do this, and that's why we go big. It's not just about helping people. I mean, again, that's a huge part, and you've got to do that, right? Millions of people who have found themselves in, food insecurity is at an all-time high in this country. I mean, it's bad out there. It's bad out there. Millions of people are suffering, right? So obviously you've got to help them. But part of helping them, part of helping everybody in the long term is stimulating the economy and not allowing it to just entirely collapse. And we can do that. That's why we have to go big. That's why I always say we're all Keynesians now. You've got Democrats tend to favor Keynesian economics, which involves a lot of government spending, but things that help keep the economy going. Conservatives tend to favor, what we would call supply side economics, right? Where, you keep taxes low, but I'm not a big fan of supply side economics. So I'm not going to make the case for it, but that's what conservatives tend to prefer. But in these times, we're all Keynesians, right? Because even conservatives are I mean, my God, Governor Jim Justice of West Virginia, a Republican, said, you got to go big. Worry about it later. We have to save the economy now. We have to do this now. This isn't something we can be timid about. We have to be big. We have to be bold. We got to do this now. So that's it. So if you want to have a threshold of, I don't know, 100 grand maybe, but 50 grand? I guarantee you there's people who made 50 grand or more who suddenly and remember, this all happened, by the way, in early 2020. It's not like it was midway through the year, right? Early 2020, it was still winter when we had to start shutting things down and millions of people suddenly found themselves out of a job, right? So here we are. It's almost an entire year later. I guarantee you there are millions of people who, according to their 2019 tax returns, were doing just dandy, who are now screwed, who can't afford enough food to feed their families, who are facing evictions or, foreclosures on their homes, who are having their vehicles repossessed. Just give them the money. It's our money anyway. Just make the payments. Just do it. You can tax it back later. It's simple. It's easy. I don't know why more people aren't making this argument. Obviously, some are. I didn't come up with this in my own head. I'm not that smart. But more people need to be making this argument. And I don't know why. I don't know why the Biden administration doesn't make this argument. They should be telling Republicans, look, you want to have a threshold? Fine. You got it. You know what? Here, how about this? You want to have a $50,000 threshold? You got it. But here's how we're going to do it. We're not going to make the threshold on the payments that go out. We're going to make the threshold on who has to pay it back, who has to get taxed on that stimulus payment. Boom. That should make everybody happy. It's a perfect solution. It really is. And you don't find a lot of those in politics. That should make everybody happy. I don't know why anyone would have anything to complain about, but there aren't enough people making that argument. And I don't hear anybody from the Biden administration making that argument. So the Vox article goes on to say this, just so we get all the details here. So their proposal would begin phasing out the benefit for individuals earning over 50 grand and married couples earning more than 100 grand. Previous stimulus checks had phase out thresholds at 75,000 per individual and 150,000 per household. I didn't realize that, by the way. I didn't know that previous stimulus checks had those thresholds. That totally got past me. Several members of Congress from both parties have argued for sticking to the original targeting. President Joe Biden, well, I'd prefer the original targeting to the 50 grand is too low. Clearly, for either scenario. Well, maybe not for my scenario, but definitely for the one that it looks like is what's going to happen. President Joe Biden, meanwhile, has signaled he's open to revisiting the income thresholds. On Sunday, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen broached the idea of restricting checks to those making $60,000 or less per year. Again, why? Why? She made the rounds on the Sunday morning talk shows. Has it not occurred? It had to have occurred to her. No, you just tax it back later. Some of those advocating for more targeted aid say it is important to limit checks to lower income people who they see as most likely to spend the money. Look, okay, this is maddening to me. It's the whole point of doing this. See, these people are proceeding as though you're just giving a little extra boost to people who may or may not need it. Like, they're acting like 2020 didn't happen. Again, we're working with 2019 data here. You know, if you're only giving it to lower income people, you know, I'll tell you what, lower income people, I mean, that's better than nothing. You should give them something, right? But it's there's a lot of middle class people who have suddenly found themselves lower income who are going to get left out here. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to do it the way they're doing it. Now, there is a rationale. So some of those advocating for more targeted aid say it is important to limit checks to lower income people who they see as most likely to spend the money quickly to help stimulate the economy and are also more likely to need it to meet everyday expenses. Yeah, true. But again, if you're going by 2019, there's a lot of lower income people who didn't used to be lower income people. There's some people who were not necessarily lower income who are now no income. The recovery from the COVID-19 recession has been unequal. Higher income Americans have been largely insulated from job losses. Homeowners have seen wealth grow. Personal savings have increased over the course of the pandemic, in part as a result of previous stimulus measures. This has sparked concern among some lawmakers that the third round of checks should be more targeted so they don't go to families who are already financially secure. Again, I understand that. And I understand that there's concern about giving people money who don't really need it, who then just put it in the bank. Because, yes, I will acknowledge there is data that shows that people who don't need the money, in large measure, are not turning around and spending it to stimulate the economy. They're putting it in the bank. But again, just tax it back later. Don't worry about who's going to spend it and who's going to put it in the bank. Tax it back later, and it'll come right back out of the bank and go right back to the Treasury. But because what if they do need it? Or what if they don't need it, but they are going to spend it? Obviously, there are some people who don't necessarily need it, but when they get it, they're going to say, well, we didn't need this money, but hey, let's spend it on something, right? As long as the money's being spent on something, that has a stimulative effect. At the heart of the political debate is something less academic and more visceral. Who do lawmakers and their constituents think deserves a third stimulus payment? In a Vox DFP poll, 60% of Americans supported means testing the stimulus checks, agreeing with the statement, quote, checks should be phased out based on income so higher income people receive less money. Again, it's a flawed concept. You don't know. You don't truly know who is higher income or lower income for 2020. You only know for 2019. Opposition to the wealthy receiving financial assistance from the government isn't surprising, but the popularity of means testing this benefit helps explain why there's such a fierce debate raging over what will likely be a relatively small part of Biden's final package. Lawmakers and their constituents want, quote, fairness, even if they have a hard time defining what it is. At the center of the economic debate over the stimulus checks is the question, what are the $1,400 payments for? By the way, I can answer that before we get to the next paragraph. For a lot of people just take that money, take that check, sign it over to their landlords so that when the moratoriums expire, they don't get evicted as soon. But anyway, these payments have commonly come to be known as stimulus checks, though their official name is economic impact payments. So the question of who will use the money to positively affect the economy by immediately spending it has dominated the debate. The COVID-19 recession is not like a normal recession. In many places, broad swaths of businesses are closed or have limited capacity. Even where they are open, many kinds of in-person economic activity, like dining indoors, attending large events, or browsing in crowded stores are risky. Thus, many people are independently choosing to avoid the very types of economic activity which is needed for a stimulus to work. Some economists, like Noah Smith, have argued that we should instead think of stimulus payments as social insurance. The goal of these payments could be to help those who have suffered financially in unseen ways but maybe weren't laid off. Again, this goes to my point. For example, took a pay cut at work, have to pay increased child care costs, which is very common. Have coronavirus-related medical expenses, quit their job to take care of their kids, etc. And to make it less terrible to stay home during the pandemic and keep yourself away from your friends and family. By the way, all the examples given here, took a pay cut at work, have increased child care costs, etc. All of these examples, would any of these be reflected on your 2019 tax return? No, of course not, because they hadn't happened yet. So again, you're using data that is not worthless, but, isn't that helpful either? Other economists and many lawmakers do not see the checks this way. They talk about them as, quote, stimulus checks meant to stimulate the economy by getting people to spend more. As part of the political viability of programs like these is proving that there's a macroeconomic payoff. And again, that gets more into the Keynesian economics. In an analysis by Opportunity Insights, a research and policy institute based at Harvard University, researchers recommend, quote, targeting the next round of stimulus checks toward lower-income households would save substantial resources that could be used to support other programs with minimal impact on economic activity, unquote. Their findings indicated that people with incomes greater than $78,000 spent only $45 of the $600 stimulus payment sent out in the second round in January. This research that has made the rounds on Capitol Hill, one senior Democratic aide told Vox, and that's Vox with a V, who spoke of the popularity of a Washington Post article, which reported on the findings with the headline, cutting off stimulus checks to Americans earning over $75,000 could be wise, new data suggests. But some economists are pushing back for a few reasons. First, there are questions over the data. Opportunity Insights is looking at spending within zip codes, not household data. Oh, that means the researchers aren't actually comparing higher income folks with lower income folks. They're comparing zip codes with residents whose average incomes are above $78,000 and those below 46,000. Thus, the within zip code variation could be clouding the results. I would imagine it would. Friedman, one of the researchers and a Brown University economist, argues that variation within zip codes actually supports their hypothesis. All right, I'm going to skip down. We're getting a little more into the weeds than I want to, and I want to get to at least one other thing today. The spending data comes only from consumer credit and debit card information. That means they have no record of cash payments or payments made by check. Now, by the way, a lot of people pay their rent with a check and their mortgage. And the data also doesn't track paying down debt like student loans, car payments, back rent, or mortgage payments. There it is. Friedman agreed this type of spending is valuable, but pointed out that payments that go towards servicing debt don't have the direct stimulative effect that buying clothes, food, or other goods and services would. Rocky Huber in the chat room said, what if they put an expiration date on it? And what I mean is, if you don't spend it in a certain amount of time, you get taxed or it disappears. That way it's used to stimulate the economy in a faster manner. Use it or lose it. That's a very interesting idea and not one that I've heard. I like that idea. I don't know how you would enforce it practically. But if there's a way to, I think that's a great idea. You know, if the idea here is to, because you want that stimulative effect to be immediate, you don't want people putting it in the bank. How do you enforce it, though? How would you practically do that? I'm not sure. But I do think it's a very interesting idea, and I think it has merit if there's a way to do it. I just don't know off the top of my head how you do it. Rocky also said they should also offer savings options in the forms of bonds and stuff that would help strengthen the dollar and our country. That's an interesting idea, too. And that's what we need. I mean, you know, out of the box. See, the problem is these ideas are probably too out of the box for most politicians. Professional politicians are not by their nature creative thinkers. They're process thinkers. They're not creative, so they don't. That's why you so rarely. That's why it's such a big deal, actually, when you hear a politician suggest something that's actually out of the box, that doesn't sound like the way things have always been done. Why everybody goes, "Wow, what an interesting and unique idea that politician had. Let's forget about it and pretend we never heard it." Because politicians just don't like to do things that are unique or out of the box. Tom Blanchard says, Shaheen said, referring, of course, to Senator Gene Shaheen of New Hampshire, Shaheen said, if you're going to bank it, then you don't need it. Right. Well, again, that's why I'm saying tax it back. Rocky says, well, to enforce it, the people would have to prove they spent $1,400 on something to strengthen the economy. Yeah, no, I get that. I just don't know. How would they have to prove it to the IRS somehow? I guess you could, I guess it could be, maybe you can do that. You got me thinking. If you make it taxable, but only if you don't spend it. I guess you would just have to certify on your tax return that you spent the money and didn't bank it. I don't know if there's you'd have, but I suppose you'd have people could just lie and say people could lie on their, not that anyone ever lies on their taxes, but no, of course people do, but you could certify on your taxes that you spent it and didn't bank it, and then if you're audited, you'd have to be able to prove that you spent it. I'm not sure. It's practical, but I like the idea. I like the idea in theory. I'm not sure. I'm still not convinced it's practical and enforceable, but plus I don't necessarily want to give the IRS ideas. You know what I'm saying. But I like the idea in theory. I do. If there's a way to do it, I like it. I think it has merit. Let's see. Okay, so eventually they get into, in this article, we're rapidly running out of time, but I do want to get the rest of this in. There's also a debate about whether the income and ultimately spending the payments are really as tightly linked as the Opportunity Insight data suggests. Claudia Sam, an economist who has worked at the Federal Reserve and the Council of Economic Advisors, argued against new income restrictions, pointing to studies which find a stronger connection with liquidity, not liquidity, that's made up a word, liquidity, essentially cash on hand, than income. So she said this, quote, "You could have a family earning $150,000 before the crisis, and they could be earning $102,000 now. A $50,000 drop in income is a big hole. Now, my heart might not bleed for them in the same way that it does for a single mom with 3 kids, but the reality is both of them cannot miss a paycheck without causing problems." Yes, exactly. And that $50,000 drop in income, that's a big hole that she's referring to in this example. You don't know that looking at their 2019 tax return now, do you? And I guarantee you there's millions of people who are in that kind of situation. Jonathan Parker, an economist at MIT, emphasized this point in an email, adding that Opportunity Insight's research, quote, "does not answer the question as to whether higher income people spend over a month instead of a few days," unquote. People could be putting aside that money to spend later, for instance, when there is a mass vaccination. But he still argued against sending payments that aren't strictly targeted to those with the greatest need. Skipping down a little bit because we're tight on time. Friedman emphasized that the economy will rebound quickly when the COVID-19 outbreaks are under control. Quote, "Once the public health situation recovers, my instinct is that the economy will snap back pretty quickly given how much extra savings people have. I'm not sure sending a $1,400 check will make that much of a difference," unquote. Friedman's comment is interesting to me because he almost, on the one hand, he's saying he's not sure the $1,400 check will make that much of a difference, but if that $1,400 does increase people's savings, that might help the economy to snap back quicker. And a little bit of a side point about that, by the way, I have been encouraged by this. There seems to be a growing consensus among economists that the economy is going to rebound. There's an irony here. Trump, I remember, he kind of let it go after a while. But in the early days of the pandemic, he talked about a V-shaped recovery. A V-shape when, a V being, the economy plummets, and then when whatever the issue that's causing the economy that caused the economy to plummet is resolved, the economy will snap right back because you're going to have all this pent-up demand and whatnot. He may turn out to have been right about that. Now, he will have been wrong, of course, incredibly so, about the timing of such, because he tried to make it sound like, look, we're going to do this 15 days to slow the spread, and then, this is going to go away, and then the economy is going to snap right back. Well, that line down on the V is turning out to be a long line, because we're over a year now of dealing with this pandemic, or about a year, right? Maybe just under, but you know what I'm saying. But it is encouraging that the economy might snap right back. Abigail Jem says, "What article are you reading now, Matt, trying to keep up?" This is the article from Vox. I will drop this into the Facebook live chat for you, actually, so everyone can see it, because we might not get through the whole thing, and there's a lot of good information here. But let's grab this. Oh, we had a call, but they went away. But here, I'm going to drop the link to this into the Facebook live chat. Caller, please call back if you'd like to, or if anyone else wants to get in with a call before we do run out of time today. 603-250-6007 is the number, 603-250-6007, and we have a call. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
Hi, Matt. It's Ron again.
Hey, Ron. How are you?
Great show today. I've been listening to it. And,
thank you.
The talk of them about the money that goes out to the people of America or whatever, it's so minuscule when you think of the money that's spent on NASA. If NASA could be classified as a strategic type thing, maybe I'd feel okay about it. But it's not. It's a freaking telescopic look at the world and what could be going on at Mars. And we have no idea what is spent on NASA. But I tell you what, it's enough to put a paycheck in everybody's pocket for a long time.
Here's the thing, though, Ron. I'm going to make an argument for NASA, and it comes down to one simple thing: we need to know what's going on out there, because we live in the middle of a shooting gallery, and I want NASA up and running at full speed at all times, because if there's something coming toward this planet that we need to fire a nuclear missile into, or whatever we need to do to save ourselves from a comet or an asteroid or whatever it is, I want to know about it so we can deal with it. So that is my...
But can you tell me this?
Yes.
Why does NASA funding have to be not open to the public for public knowledge, the amount of money that's spent on it? It's a deep secret type thing. Really, nobody knows what is spent on NASA.
You can't find. I've never bothered to look it up, but I would assume you could find that information. It's got to be in the budget. It's got to be in the federal budget. It's definitely a line.
Somewhere along the line, I thought it was a big hush hush thing, just from things I've learned through television or anything else, or wherever I heard it. I don't know what type of media.
Yeah,
I thought it was a big hush hush thing.
No, I think you can find that out. It has to be a line item at least in the federal budget. I'm sure you can find that out. Yeah, I mean,
maybe I'm wrong.
But yeah, I'm very pro NASA, because I don't want to, if there's an asteroid that's going to kill us all, I don't want to find out about it when it's too late.
Yeah, you know what? Life is short anyway, so if it hits and knocks us all out, worry about it then.
Well, but, we won't have anything to worry about when we're all dead, I suppose. But yeah, I'd rather.
Yeah, really.
I'd rather we be in a position to deal with it.
All right, my friend. Thanks again.
All right, Ron. Thanks for the call. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Let's see. Yeah, I mean we've had a couple of close calls with asteroids and comets and things like that. Abigail says, I think this is BS. Money spent on NASA is public. Yeah, you can find that out. Rocky says, wow, who brought NASA into this? LOL. Abigail says, is NASA the Space Force? Space Force? Maybe I'll play the Space Force song to end the show. I do love the Space Force song. Oh, Rocky Huber pointed out it's an uppercase V when I was talking about the V-shape recovery, because it's a long way down. We're still on the down of the V. By the way, President Joe Biden points out it's more like a K-shaped recovery. And he says that because what we have seen is, on the upper part of the K, some people have done extraordinarily well. Jeff Bezos of Amazon comes to mind, and others who've actually profited from the pandemic. Bezos, of course, his wealth has increased. He's already, I think he's the richest person in the world, if I'm not mistaken. And others have done very well during the pandemic, while, a majority of people have either managed to maintain or they've done very, very poorly. So he says it's more like a K-shaped recovery. But again, my original point being, I am encouraged by there does seem to be among economists a lot of optimism that potentially, I mean, I know, I was listening to the BBC and, in the UK, they're talking about they actually think this summer could be very good. Sagar Enjeti, who is the co-host of a program called Rising on thehill.com, he believes that the economy is going to be booming. And he's actually my favorite conservative. I'm not a conservative, but I like Sagar Enjeti a lot. I think he's intellectually honest, and I certainly disagree with him on some things because we're different ideologically. But I think he's honest, and I enjoy his takes on things. And he's very bullish on the economy, and he thinks this summer is going to be very, very good. Rocky points out, I'm worried about these variants of the virus popping up. I am too, and I'm worried that. We're clearly in a race against these variants. We're in a race to get people vaccinated and to get ahead of the variants. And again, there's some good news in that we're now 1/10 of the population has been vaccinated. So that's progress. And it all seems to be speeding up the vaccinations, which is good. But also the spread of these variants is speeding up. And this the South African variant appears to be particularly problematic. The good news is with this technology that they have now, they can tweak these vaccines, but there's still going to be a lag, right? You can't tweak the vaccines and distribute them. We can't even get the vaccines distributed in a timely fashion as it is. So to get these revised vaccines distributed in time to keep up with the variants is tough. So Abigail says, I remember my social studies teacher in high school in the early 90s talking about the polarization of wealth eventually destroying this country. I feel like the K-shaped economy is an example of the polarization. Oh, absolutely. And, we talk a lot. That's why we talk a lot about the 1%. The wealth in this country continues to be more and more concentrated at the top, and the economic disparity continues to grow. And it's funny. You hear that phrase people say, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. When I was a kid, I would hear people say that. And I used to think, wow, what a cynical thing to say. Why do adults say that? It's almost like something somebody says at the end of a conversation about economics or financial concerns. People just say, well, what are you going to do? The rich get richer and the poor get poorer. And that's a way of sort of ending a conversation. That's really what I thought. Then I got to be an adult and began to study and pay attention to these things and realized, no, actually, it literally is true. The rich literally do get richer and the poor literally do get poorer. And that trend continues unabated in this country and around the world. Let's see. So we do need to begin to wrap up. Thank you all, of course, for joining me today on this Monday afternoon. Don't forget our wonderful sponsor, the Hop Knot in the Brady Sullivan Plaza, right across the street. Thank you to our callers today and everybody in the Facebook live chat. And if you missed any part of today's show, it will be up in just a little bit at WMNHradio.org. And let's see, I think I will play the Space Force song because whenever anyone mentions Space Force, I got to play it. Let's see if I can find it quickly. You know the one I'm talking about, the Space Force. Space Force. Let's see. By the way, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, a replay of Granite State of Mind is next at 6 p.m. right after this program. So if you missed Friday's show, you can catch the replay of it. Let's see. I think I found the Space Force song. And if you missed any part of this show, it'll be up in just a little bit at WMNHradio.org. Oh, yeah. I found it. Awesome. All right, here we go. All right. Thanks, everybody. I will talk at y'all a little bit later.